How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my Marathon Training 2 series. This is episode 13 and it's absolutely crazy because this episode we are going to officially be wrapping up this current training plan, and I'll be moving forward and showing you guys a sneak preview of what my next training plan is actually going to look like. Let's go ahead, let's jump on into it. How's everybody doing? I hope you had a great week. I hope you had a good week of training. I hope you had a good week of life. I know that I had a very interesting and pretty relaxed week that led to a pretty interesting weekend. So we're going to get into that. But I did want to touch a little bit more on, I did finish my training plan and I did choose on a new one. And we'll go ahead and just, get into it now. But no better time than the present, right? So I did decide to go with the sub 4.5 hour training plan. My goal is not necessarily to run it in under 4.5 hours, but I think training for that can only help me, bring down my time as much as possible. And, if I do hit under 4.5 hours, then that's just an added bonus on top. So we're going to get into kind of the ins and the outs on what that's going to mean going forward, kind of some of the wrinkles that this next plan is throwing in compared to the previous one. But first, we got to take a look back at this past week. We got to talk about some things that happened. We got to talk about some takeaways. And, there's no better time than the present. Let's head over to the calendar. Let's jump into this and see what we had. Welcome back to my week in review. And this week we had a very interesting one. As you can already clearly see, we had a very easy week and then a very, very tough end to the week. So I'm just going to cover, the first 3 runs all at once because they were all exactly the same. 3 miles. It should have been varying paces, but I ended up running them fairly similarly, somewhere between 9 minutes a mile and 9 minutes and 20 seconds per mile. And you can see actually a note there next to my Thursday run saying I ran at lunch, and it was a mistake because I always seem to forget for some reason that running at noon in southern Texas in August is never a good idea. But you know what? I was doing it anyway, and that was a major mistake on my part. But, looking at the individual stats, obviously all of them 3 miles. Tuesday, 9 minutes and 20 seconds per mile. Thursday, 9 minutes per mile. Hype. Saturday, 9 minutes and 17 seconds per mile, also pretty good. Was supposed to be slower, still pretty good. And then total times, 28:05, 27:05, 27:54. These are all, pretty normal 3 mile times for me now. I ran them all very quickly, and I ran them all pretty consistently, which I was okay with. I gotta figure something out to get real for just a moment. I really gotta figure something out with these Saturday runs because doing them right, or actually we'll get into it, but those Saturday runs really were setting me up for tough Sunday runs, as we can see, and we'll go ahead and jump into it. Sunday was supposed to be 15 miles. I made it 11 with an average pace of 10:55 and a total time of just over 2 hours. This one was a slog and a bit of a very tough struggle to do. I ended up having some pretty bad cramps in my leg right around mile 10, and so it ended up slowing me down to the point where I actually had to stop and stretch, and I actually ended up just calling it because it wasn't necessarily getting better. And that was frustrating because it had been the first long run I'd done in a while. The current in this instance training plan was coming to an end. This was the last run. I was really looking forward to just getting out and getting it over with and being able to wipe my hands and being done with it. But it was really a slog and it was really a struggle. I really struggled to get into a rhythm. I really struggled with pace. I really struggled with, I think, my mental preparation as well as just my physical preparation. This week and in the previous week, I think I was taking it a bit for granted with the shorter runs. And I think my diet wasn't necessarily helping me. And it's something I'm definitely focusing on going forward from here. But for the week, it ended up totaling up to 20 miles with an average pace of 9:38. That 10:55 on Sunday really slowed me down. And a total running time of 3 hours, 23 minutes, and 12 seconds. It's about right. The pace I'm very happy with, and you can obviously tell that I marked the week as a yellow, while I have three greens and one yellow on the end. And I think that is just because I didn't prepare myself for this week correctly. I didn't approach this week correctly. And I think I learned a very valuable lesson in learning that every week is different and every week deserves to be approached with the professionalism that it requires. I looked at the first 3 runs and went, oh, they're all 3 miles. I'm going to be super rested for the weekend. But I forgot to take into account that it had been weeks since I'd run this many miles, being the 15. It had been far too long since I've had to mentally and physically prepare for that. I looked at the 3 miles and went, oh, that's easy. I can do that whenever. As we saw with the Thursday run, I pushed it off to lunch. I wasn't approaching it the correct way, and it really showed in the results for Sunday. And so now that we're starting a new training plan going forward, I'm hoping to use that opportunity to start to learn more of the mental preparation combined with the physical preparation, and kind of continuing to keep the bigger picture in mind and not look at individual weeks and be like, oh, that's super easy. I don't have to really be ready for it. So that's kind of my goal going forward, and kind of what happened here. I think that's going to be a great lead into our quote of the week. I'll send it back over to the desk quickly. We'll do that very quickly, and then we'll come back and we'll take our first look, or some of you probably peeked ahead already, our first look at the first couple of weeks, and more specifically the first week of our sub 4.5 hour training plan. Welcome back to our quote of the week segment, and I think I have a good one for us this week. This one I am choosing to look at as the week as a whole, because I think I covered it, or will cover it a bit in our looking back segment, but I think this one really encompasses the results that I saw from this week. And the quote is by William James, and it reads, "Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does." And I'm sure I'm tying it back into what I've already said, but what you do makes a difference, both directly impacting running and indirectly, impacting running. I didn't approach this week correctly. What I did made a difference in my results for this week. While all of the 3 mile runs that I did went very well, and I'm very happy with them, because I didn't take the other things into account as if it were going to make a difference. It reared its ugly head in negative results and showed me that the preparation that I was doing was incorrect, and it was showing in the 15 mile result. So this is a pretty quick segment. I'm sure I'll cover most of my thoughts on this week in our looking back segment, but I just thought this one made a lot of sense for me, and I think it can make a lot of sense to other people. So act as if what you do makes a difference, because it does. What you do does make a difference, but it can make a difference both negatively and positively. So try and keep in mind all of the things that can positively impact you going forward, but also remember to keep in mind things that can negatively impact you as well. So I think from here we're going to send it back to the calendar, and we're going to take a quick, exciting look ahead at my next weeks in the first week of the new training plan. Enjoy. Welcome back to I'm sure is the most exciting segment and the thing you were looking forward to the most in this episode. We are officially taking a look ahead to the first week of my new training plan, and I know you should be very excited, because with it comes a lot of wrinkles that I was not expecting, because it had just been so long since I peeked at this, and I'm excited to see, and we'll look even a little bit further ahead to talk about what I mean by some of these wrinkles that it's adding. So for next week specifically, I get no breaks, because while the previous training plan was following a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday plan, and this is where we'll peek ahead even another week forward, the next training plan does not seem to follow that much of a structured schedule, at least in the beginning, at least for the first 2 weeks, as we'll look at here. So This next week, I ran on Sunday. I immediately turn around again on Monday. 2 miles. Got to bang out 2 miles. Easy. So I'm not worried about it, but this is the first time in a while where I've hit long run and immediately had to turn around and, get back out there again. So 2 miles, I'm not necessarily worried about it, but at the same time, I'm taking this opportunity to do what I talked about and looking back, to approach it correctly and approach it as if it is a vital workout, because it is a workout that I'm doing and leading me towards my end goal of running a marathon in under 4.5 hours. We'll see. But we started off hot. The first run of the new training plan is a nice 2 miles to get out and, just run, because you have to remember that these training plans aren't meant to be run back to back to back. I think they're more designed to run as independent training flows. And so the first few weeks are meant to get you out and get you into the groove of doing these. Obviously, having done these past 2 training plans, I'm already doing that. But at the same time, the ramp back up, I think after we saw what happened last week, the ramp back up into higher mileage is going to be necessary. But yes, Monday, I get to say Monday again, and it's going to be very interesting. So Monday, 2 miles easy, immediately rest day on Tuesday. It's going to be very different. Wednesday, I get to say Wednesday again too. Also very exciting. 3 miles easy. And as we saw from this previous week, 3 mile runs can be my detriment. And so I'm going to be very focused on this one, on doing it correctly, doing it with purpose and doing it with intent. And I'm very excited for that. We immediately, and here's where the first wrinkle we see, during the week, turn around Thursday, another 2 miles at this new marathon pace, which is actually a minimum of 10 minutes and 30 seconds pace. So I'm very excited for that as well. We're getting a taste of a new marathon pace to follow. Granted, I've been hitting these mostly fine, but at the same time, it's always a little exciting when you get some new, the floor gets raised a little bit, and I'm excited to see what comes over the next few weeks. I then get the next 2 days off, Friday and Saturday, and then 6 miles on the weekend, and it shoots for a max time, or at least as I took it as 6 miles in 70 minutes, so a little bit over 10.5 miles. I think this came out to about 10.5 minutes pace or something like that. My goal will probably be 6 miles in an hour, mainly just because that 6 mile range has been pretty good to me so far in the previous weeks and months. So I think I'm going to try and continue that. I'm probably not going to attempt to push it too much. So I'll probably try and find a good 10-minute pace, 9-minute, 45-second pace, depending on how I feel, and kind of stick to that. And we'll peek ahead just slightly. So that'll be next week. I'm really excited to get this next training plan started. I'm excited at the mix-up in the schedule. I think it's going to be very exciting, and my body is not going to be used to it, which I think is going to be very helpful. And that actually leads me into peeking ahead just slightly, at least at the schedule for the next week after that, where we actually don't run on Monday, don't run on Friday and Saturday, but what we do is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, back to back runs, followed by a Sunday run at the end. But this is what I mean about being excited about the mix-up in training schedule. This is going to be the kind of confusion that my body hasn't seen over the past training plan, because in the previous plan it had been Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, I knew I was running, my body knew I was running. But now it doesn't get that luxury, as we just see this week, where Monday, I'd never run on Mondays before, yet in a long time. Gonna hit a Monday, gonna hit a Wednesday, and then immediately the next week it's gonna change again to back-to-back days. So I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited to get into this next training plan. It feels fresh and it feels new, and I'm very excited to get some of these newer workouts in a little more detail. And we'll take another quick peek ahead of just the first week of, or the first run of the next week. So 5 miles, and it gives very specific intervals. It's an interval run, but a very specific distances rather than necessarily times. So it's 5 miles with a 1 mile warm up, and then 2 sections of 1.5 miles quick with quarter-mile recovery in between, and then a 1 mile cool down. So that's very exciting. There's two interval runs in that week. I'm very excited to do those. But for now, we got to get through this week. We got to stay focused. We got to stay on track. And we're going to do what we're going to do. But I think that is going to wrap up our look ahead. I'm very excited, and I hope you're excited to follow along as I start my next training plan. And let's start this thing off right. I hope to come back in the next episode and be like, yes, I smashed it. Or am I going to learn more lessons? I hope that's not the case, but there's only one way to find out. And I think we'll send it back to the desk to wrap this thing up. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up episode 13 of my Marathon Training 2 series. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing the wrap up from my previous training plan and are very excited to follow along with me in my new training plan. I know I'm very excited to get started on it, and I hope you're excited to keep track with it as well. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be a very interesting experience. I hope you enjoyed our quote of the week. Let me know how you thought about our quote of the week and my current and previous training plan results down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and really appreciate it, and I know it helps me out greatly. And if you enjoy this kind of content, I know a lot of you don't necessarily think it might be worth it, but please consider subscribing. I release these videos every Monday, and I think I've said it every episode, I think for the last month, but I'm always looking to come up with ideas for new content on this channel, so leave any other ideas you may have for me down in the comments as well. But I hope you all had a great week. I hope you all have a great week next week. I hope to hear back from you in the next episode, but for now, have a good one. I'll see you next week.